thing I have to say first is congratulations about last night. Was that pretty exciting?
Yes, it was very exciting. It was so like surreal. I mean, the minute they called my name, my mind just like totally blanked on everything. So I mean, but it was really exciting.
Was that your first big award show? Really? Oh, okay.
Yes.
So I guess going back, it's not that far back because this whole thing, I guess, is pretty new for you still. But where are you from, for people who are curious?
I'm from LA.
Okay. So of all, I know I interviewed the Coen brothers last week, and they were saying we looked like we had looked all over, and we found it in the backyard.
Yep.
But did you go to the movies as a kid? Growing up, I'm just curious if you had any favorites.
Yeah, I didn't so much. I mean, go to the movies. I would, sometimes, watch them at home with my family. But I think, it's definitely this past 2 years or so something that I've always, it's something that I really want to do in my spare time and find, that I try and do it every time I can. But I mean, I go sometimes every now and then with a group of friends. But my mom and I are on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
And we've got them going in and out. So yeah.
Right. And when did you first develop an interest in acting? Do you remember, was there a turning point? Was there something that happened?
Yes, I was 8 years old. Yep. My cousin True was doing commercials at the time for, I think it was Bratz Dolls. And that, I'd be watching my shows and my cousin would come up with his TV and that would be like huge for me. And, it was, of course, it was for a doll, so it was glamorous and it was, everything just seemed so perfect. And so, that right there, I just looked at her and I was like, okay, I have to do this. And, seeing somebody, like my cousin, knowing her so well, really made me believe that it was possible that I could do it.
Was there also a friend of yours, Jessica, I'd read about? Yeah, okay.
Jessica was in a school play called Philemon, and she went to a school that I've always wanted to go to. It has a really amazing performing arts center there, and I went and saw her. She just had a small part, but I sat, a few rows back from the stage, and just to watch her, again, somebody that I grew up with and knew so well, I didn't even know what it was, and to watch her again and know that, it was comforting knowing that she got nervous for that, and it was really cool seeing somebody that I knew do something really amazing.
So when you decided that this was something you wanted to pursue, what was the first steps towards doing that?
Well, my mom made me study for a full year, taking classes and working with different coaches before we took it a step further. So, she'd make sure that I wouldn't just kind of drop out at any time. So I studied. I went to Cynthia Bain's Young Actors Studio in Studio City for a full year. After that, my mom sent out headshots to about 10 agencies, I believe. And yeah.
And so then you got, how long after you got the agent did you start working? I know True Grit was your first feature, but were you doing other things before True Grit?
Yeah, I actually, when my mom sent out those headshots, I signed with Coast to Coast with the print division, and another agency theatrically, but I did a lot of print from like the age 9 to 11. I was all print, and that was, that I kind of find is more, fun. It's not, as challenging and stuff. But then, then when I switched to Coast across the board, when I was about, 11 or so, that's when things really started to pick up with, going in for big auditions and stuff. And, but I've done a couple guest stars, a few student thesis graduate short films that I've done for, the experience, the credit, to keep me busy. And that's just pretty much it.
Sure. Had you ever auditioned for anything else that we might have heard of prior to True Grit?
Just like...
Just anything along the way.
Oh my goodness, I've gone up for so many things. I guess, I don't know, like, something that I did, was last year, I did a Kmart commercial. I think it's funny. I had more auditions for that than I did for True Grit.
Really?
I did. I think I had, like, no joke, like, 12 calls for that.
God.
It was crazy, but for True Grit I only had 3. But I've gone up for a lot of features in the past, but my biggest thing was I was always too green. which was, annoying, but it is what it is.
So when did you first hear the two words True Grit? When did it come to your, before being cast, before even auditioning?
Yes.
How did it come about?
It was, I believe it was like last year. My mom's cousin's husband was watching the news.
Yep.
And saw that they were doing a casting call, and their daughter was just getting into acting. She's about 9. And they said, it's like all age range, come in, that kind of thing. So her mom did some research on it, for her kid, and, found that it was like a perfect description for myself. So she passed the news on to my mom. And we called my agent, Meredith Fine, on it. It was with Coast to Coast. And, said, can we get in on this? And, I think we were like in the position where the Coens had just gone back to New York, and they had their girl there. And so it was like a really, kind of, not knowing whether it was going to happen or not, even getting the call. So when I first heard about True Grit, I watched the original, just to kind of, educate myself a little bit about it, because I knew nothing about it. And so after that, I was put on tape the first week in January, and I got a call back 2 days later to read with Ellen Chenoweth, who's the casting director of the film. And at that point, they told us it would be a month if we were to hear anything at all. And it was 5 weeks later that I got called in to read for the Coen Brothers.
Wow. So over those 5 weeks, I guess, what were you up to?
I actually was able to take advantage of that time and work on the material, but I mean, every day was waiting by the phone just to see it, just pure agony. It was so bad, but I mean, those 5 weeks felt like 5 years, as you can imagine. But I mean, I was really fortunate to have that, and it was kind of interesting because I was able to work on the material with a coach of mine, and after getting the job, I just looked back on those 5 weeks and realized how much fun I had. I forgot the fact that I was, I was treating it as if I had the job, and I loved the material, and so it was fun.
So now you get the call, come in to meet with the Coen Brothers.
Yes.
Most of their movies, I guess, are hard R-rated movies,
Yes.
so I don't know. Were you familiar? Was it intimidating, or had you not really been that familiar with their stuff?
Well, I hadn't seen most of their work, because most of it is rated R, but I was definitely familiar with who they were. And I mean, I was intimidated, but the minute I met them, I mean, I was walking into the lobby, and Joel Coen's like, "Oh, hi, Hailee, we're so glad you're here," and I'm like, thanks, I'm like happy to be here. I mean, they're just so comforting and so really, down to earth and low key. So they were really cool.
And that obviously must have gone well, right? And so what happened there that made them say come back again? And what happened when you came back again? It was a bigger crowd, right?
Yeah. Well, I actually, when I went in to read for them, I read with Jeff Bridges, Matthew Dakins, who plays Earl Stonehill, and Barry Pepper. So I had, a fair amount of material with each one of the actors. And it was the funniest thing, because some of the scenes that I did were, rather serious and somewhat emotional. And they're in the corner just laughing hysterically the whole time. And it took me a while to understand that they giggle when they like something. So I'm doing this scene, and I'm like, trying to figure out, am I doing it right or not? But it was really, I was a nervous wreck, but I realized that, if I heard him giggling, I was on the right track.
Right. So before you got the phone call that you're in, what was an average day or just life like for you prior to that?
I believe I auditioned on a Saturday. My last call was on a Saturday, and I got the call on a Tuesday. So again, worst days of my life, just waiting. But
I mean, I guess generally, like here's was it just sort of your normal 13-year-old existence, or were you?
I mean, I tried to just go about my day, doing school, and I mean, just. But it's hard because I've always try and stay positive, and same with my parents, and it's just we always look at it as if it's not this one, it's something else, it's the next, and just to kind of push through. But I just had this feeling like if it's not this, then it was the weirdest thing, and I feel like I'm like saying one of those like wacky stories, but it really felt I really was prepared, and really, yeah.
And last question about the auditioning process. Was there a requirement that you had to be an experienced horse rider or know how to shoot a gun or do any of those things?
Yeah, during the auditioning process, I think, the biggest deal was finding a girl that could ride a horse that was at least familiar with it. And I used to ride a couple years ago, so that was, perfect for me. But the shooting the gun, the other two main things are shooting a gun and rolling a cigarette. I'd never done that before, obviously. And there was no requirement, actually. But one of the scenes that I had, Maddie rolls a cigarette in the scene, and so I was working, again with the coach, and it was kind of a key thing that, to show them that I, knew how to do that, and so I kind of learned during the audition process for that. But yeah.
And the shooting,
The shooting, after I got the job, I had my dad take me to a shooting range, which was something that a 13-year-old girl would not do, so that was interesting. But it was big help. I'm really glad I did.
And just, were you aware of how high the odds were stacked against you? Were you aware of this whole 1 in 15,000 chance, or was it something you only learned about later?
No, I the whole time was thinking whoever gets this is like winning the lottery, and it really is. The Coen brothers and Jeff and Matt, Josh, Barry, everything about this project was, I was familiar with that, and it was, I was very, thankful and honored to be, in the process along with, every other girl. But, I was just, it's amazing.
So how did you get the news, and what was your reaction? Be honest.
No, do I have to?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I got the call, I was sitting in my room. I was on my computer. I don't even know what I was doing. And the phone rang. It would be like my grandma, and would get so excited, and then, So, like, every time the phone rang, I was, I never wanted to pick it up because I was really scared. So I'd wait to hear my mom pick it up. Well, she picked it up it was 7:02 p.m., and she picks it up and she says, "Hi, David," and it's my manager's name, and I was like, okay. So my heart is just beating out of my chest, and I'm sitting on my staircase so I could hear her, and she goes, and then she lost him or something. It was terrible, but anyway, she ended up calling me downstairs. She said, "Maddie Ross, there's somebody on the phone for you." And I'm running down the stairs. My dad's taking pictures of me. My reaction, it was immediately jumping up and down with excitement, and then the next day it kind of really hit me, and it was very emotional and everything, so yeah.
That's awesome. Did the Coen brothers ever tell you what it was that they saw in you that made them say, out of all these 15,000, you are the one that they...
Not really. They haven't really told me. I've been, in a position where they've, somebody's asked them while they're with me, but I think one of the main things was I was really good with handling the dialogue. Other than that, I guess I don't know.
Well, and that was actually kind of my next question in terms of preparing for the auditions with your coach, and then I don't know if you work with your parents or if anybody else was helping you, but what were the biggest challenges? Was it the dialogue? Was it, I guess maybe you can talk about specifically the dialogue is very stylized and unique, kind of, not the way we would be talking to each other.
That was definitely a big challenge, getting the script, and watching the original when I first heard about True Grit was very helpful, because obviously, you turn on the TV, you still don't hear that, and to watch that was really helpful, because that helped me, hearing that. It's almost as if, after watching the original and after reading the sides that I didn't have the full script until after I got the job. I had just a full vision of this character, down to the way she would walk. And I think, with the dialogue, it's almost, I just read what was written, really. And I think it's almost, Barry Pepper likes to refer to it as American Shakespeare, and it's very, song-like, if all the actors read it, it just kind of flows. And in terms of the accent, that just, I would say formed naturally after I got on set and everybody kind of had that little southern accent.
Twang, yeah. And just quickly, I know now that you say you saw the original movie, did you did you read the book at any point?
I did, yeah, I did. I read that after I got the job as well. I was so fortunate to have the original, the script, the book, and Joel and Ethan. I really had every reference at my fingertips.
Yeah. So just sort of a maybe a silly question, but what or who do you think the title refers to specifically?
I think everyone in the film. I think everyone. I mean, True Grit to me, and I think to the character, would mean perseverance and never retreat. Always take a step forward, follow through, and you get knocked down, you get right back up, and I think really everybody demonstrates a little bit of true grit in the film.
So you walk onto the set the first day, and you are surrounded by. I've lost count of how many Oscar winners because I know we got Damon and Bridges and both Coen brothers and some of the tech people.
Yes.
And some of those others arguably should have Oscars already. So again, intimidating or just I know you had a bit of rehearsal time with them, right?
Yeah, no, I did. And again, I think after I met them and realized, I mean, they're all there to do a job, and I'm there for the same reason, and every single person on this set, now that I think about it, cast and crew, brought so much joy to their work that's just so contagious, and it goes around, and it's such a great environment. And for me, being a kid, pretty much the only kid, I never once felt that I was the only kid. I was always having so much fun, and I mean, everybody's really amazing.
And actually, related to having fun, I've read, and maybe you can explain for people who haven't read about this already, but what was the Bad Boy Jar?
The Bad Boy Jar. I started a Bad Boy Jar because everybody was cursing a lot. Again, cast and crew.
When the cameras, we're talking when they're not rolling, they're hanging out.
Yes, and so it was actually my mom's idea, my teacher's idea, because they didn't want me to pick up on it. So it was $5 for the F word, $1 for any other word. And the funniest thing, about a month after I started that, it was Matt, Jeff, Josh, and myself. We were all in the trailer, in the makeup trailer. They were in their own conversation. I was having a conversation with the makeup artist, and I heard the F word come up. And so I turned around and I yelled out $5. And they all looked at me and they're like, okay, they paid up, but they're like, this is not fair. You cannot keep catching us off guard. So they were like, okay, we're designating you a word. So if I said the word like, it was 50 cents. So I contributed as well. But
right. Okay, and then at the end, I was reading you guys sent it all over to Alzheimer's. Is that
yes,
right?
I donated it to an Alzheimer's
That's very
Foundation.
nice.
I matched it and donated it.
That's very nice.
Yes.
And generally, I've heard there was the screening in New York, the first time that it was screened in New York, where you and Matt came afterwards, and you both were sort of telling the moderator about how, I guess more Matt because he'd been on a lot of other sets, how unusually smooth and calm and just unique a set it was. And obviously it's hard, I can't ask you to compare it to other sets, but was that your feeling? Are the Coen brothers as mellow on the set as they seem to be off the set?
They really are. I mean, they're just so easygoing. I mean, it's like, I love that their biggest focus is their greatest focus is making a great film. Nothing else. They're not worried about, anything else really. That's just, and I think that's so, I mean, that was really important for me to experience as a first thing, and I'm very, very spoiled that I, had that. And I think, Matt was right on. It was very mellow and very, fun, and I mean, even, someone cracked a joke every now and then, and it's just, just very, light mood and everything.
Was it exhausting for you? Because you're in virtually every scene of the movie. I would think it would be.
Yeah, I mean, it would hit me at the end of every day, how tired I really was, and I'd, pass out and then get up the next morning and be ready to go again. I mean, it was just, I really discovered that it was something that I truly love to do. And I mean, I look forward to getting up every day and going to set and getting ready to experiencing something new. So I just had so much fun. I forgot it was a job. I forgot about being tired and everything.
Did you have to do school during the making of the movie?
Did, yes.
How did that work?
Well, I had an on-set tutor. So anytime I could get a block of school in, a 20-minute block, was either, depending on where we were in the trailer or in a tent thing, wherever we were, it was, we always had to make time for school.
I have to ask you about the two moments in the film that, to me at least, were where you really started to realize what she was made of, her true grit, which was the back and forth with Colonel Stonehill,
yes.
and then crossing the river on the horse.
Yes.
I am sure there are others that I'm blanking out at the moment, but what can you just take people back to those two specific days, what that involved for you, and those were big moments for your character.
The scene with Stonehill was actually the big auditioning scene. That is one of my favorite scenes. It's so good. We were in Granger, Texas when we filmed that, and Matthew Dakins is so great. I mean, it was so much fun doing that just because of the dialogue in that particular scene was just so, like, witty almost, just back and forth, back and forth. That was a lot of film. I was actually sick that day. I had a migraine because I was, like, overheated, but it's all good and it worked out. But I really liked filming that scene. And
the horse crossing?
Yes, the horse crossing.
Or the river crossing.
Yeah. That was our last week of filming. We filmed that. I forget where we were there, but that was difficult to film. My double Cassidy, we kind of switched off doing that scene. The horses that we used, I believe it took them 2 minutes to get across the river, which is a very, very long time for them. It's a lot of work. And it was really difficult to film because Roger Deakins and the camera crew were on like these inflatable boats almost, and it was really hard for them to get too close because they didn't, the horse would spook, and so
right.
It was very difficult. But my favorite part was after I'd get on the other side of the river, there was a guy with a jet ski and like a boogie board, and I'd ride that back. So that was fun.
That's cool. That, as well as the scene with your character going down the hole and then going up the tree, are all dangerous. And I'm wondering to what extent that was you, or to what extent it was a stunt person, because all of them are we worry about you.
Yes, the tree was me. The snake pit, the falling down part,
right,
was not.
Okay.
I don't want to ruin anything. But the tree, that was funny. During rehearsal, that 2 weeks we kind of had, it's really not only just a rehearsal, to focus on the work, the material. It's, wardrobe fittings and really just testing everything out, preparing everything else. Joel had come to one of the fittings, and he had asked me, Hailee, are you afraid of heights? And for some odd reason, I don't know where my mind was, but I was thinking about a horse's height. And I was like, yeah, I'm totally fine. So he pulls out his iPhone, and he shows me the picture of, like, the tree that I have to climb the next day. And I didn't realize, like, I don't know, that was very nerve-wracking, but it was a lot of fun.
I was going to say, was it really, like, there must have been some safety precautions.
I was all harnessed up.
Okay, I was going to say.
But no, it was higher than expected.
Oh my god, that was really, like, jarring. But, okay, so now the movie's, obviously, after a lot of other things, the movie gets completed, you go home for however many weeks or months, and then you see it for the first time. When was that, and what was your reaction?
I saw the film the first time the weekend of Thanksgiving, and my reaction was just, I was just so overwhelmed. I started crying at after seeing it, and just realizing that, that 3.5 months of my life is, like, all right there, and it was really, truly amazing, and like you said, from the day I got home, the day we finished filming, to the minute I arrived on the lot to go see it, I was just thinking, like, how is this going to be put together with that, and how is this going to look with the music and all that stuff, and I tried to expect, I guess I didn't really know what to expect, but I saw it, and it was, along the lines of what I was thinking, but just 10 times greater, and I'm really, really proud of the finished product.
You should be. What was your family and friends' reaction to seeing the movie whenever they finally caught up to it?
Yes, it was because I started crying. My mom saw me crying, so she started crying. My dad got a little emotional because he saw us crying, and my brother was a little emotional as well. So we were all a mess, but we've seen it a few times now, and it's getting a little easier. But my friends and other family, I think it's hard for them. They tell me it's hard because they can't get past the fact that it's me. But I think once you see it, more than once, you kind of find different things. So.
Are people coming out of the woodwork? Oh, my old best friend.
Yeah. My brother actually got someone yesterday. Like, his brother's mom, sister. I don't know, something really like person.
Right.
Anyway, but yeah.
Wow. Well, I guess that means that you've done something well.
Yes. Thank you.
And Kim Darby, have you met or heard anything from her?
I have met Kim Darby. Just the most amazing woman. I mean, I actually met her on the carpet of the LA industry screening of True Grit. So it was very, again, surreal that she was right there, and just so sweet. And you know, she just like, I mean, she was so happy with the film, and which meant a lot to me, because I mean, it is more of an adaptation to the book than it is a remake to the film, but still, she was one of my main inspirations for the role, and to hear that she was happy with it for me was
And did she have any sort of words of advice? She's obviously now, that was, what, 40-something years ago for her. So did she have anything to say about...
Yes, she told me, she looked me in the eye, she said, God bless you, and for me, please make the right decisions and choose the right thing. She was just very, very sweet. I mean, so cool to hear it from somebody like her, too.
My very last two things are, first of all, now, I know it's probably, you haven't had a moment to breathe, but when you take in what this whole journey has been like, the interviews, now the red carpets and the award shows and the parties and all that starting up, and what's also potentially still to come, very likely. Is it overwhelming? I mean, I'm sure it's surreal, but how do you handle it? Just being thrust in your first time at bat, basically hitting a grand slam and dealing with all of the stuff that comes with that.
Right. No, it is very overwhelming, but it's kind of crazy because I guess I didn't really think it through all the way to this. Like you said, I mean, there's the award shows, the red carpets, the interviews, and I mean, like I said when the beginning, I mean, I just wanted to be on TV like in a Breath Balls commercial, like my cousin. You know what I mean? I never expected it to happen this fast, but I mean, every day I get to experience something new, and it's really amazing. And I have amazing friends and family and support system. So yeah.
And the very last thing is sort of obvious question: what's next? If you could snap your fingers and have any sort of a future, personally, professionally, whatever, what would you like it to look like?
I think I really look up to people like Jeff and Matt and Josh. Diane Lane is one of my favorite actresses. Natalie Portman. People like that who have just maintained such an amazing career since they were younger, or even younger than me. And I mean, that's really my goal, and as long as I'm loving it, then I know I'm in the right place.
All right, well, thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.